Hello.
Hello, guys. This is Sarita, also known as Bible Study Girl, and I'm just a girl with something to offer the world. The first greeting you guys heard was from the executive producer of this podcast, Bible Study Brother.
It is Bible Study Brother, but I'm also known as Icarus Gray over at Gray Area Anime. And this is the most wonderful podcast of your day. But as my sister likes to say, we are actual brother and sister, same mom, biological, not just brother and sisters in Christ.
Amen and amen. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, sister.
And welcome to season 4 of the Bible Study Girl podcast. Who knew we would make it this far?
Quattro.
Not I. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see what occurs this year and really to see how the podcast continues to grow.
Well, my scripture for the day for you guys, as you hopefully now know, we have a slightly new format that we'd like to introduce to you guys. And we want to give you guys a scripture for the day. Just something to kind of encourage you or something that like sparked on our hearts and made us feel good. But today, given our topic, there was just one verse that popped up in my head because of the story I'm yet to tell, which is the 23rd Psalms, verse number 5. You prepare a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Or, other translations, my cup runneth over is a lot where people get that from. So that's my scripture for today.
Okay, I like that. How's your week been so far?
It has been pretty eventful. Still in the middle of the fast that I was telling you about. I did, I think I told you, I did just only water for 24 hours. God was a moving. It was so rough. Like most days I don't eat early. So I feel like I'd be intermittent fasting all day, every day anyway. Because I have to be, kind of like motivated to get something to eat or feel like cooking something. And what I did was I said, all right, because we had gone to church and they were like, hey, we're in this fast. Why don't, I implore some of you to try a water only fast, because fasting is from food. The other stuff that we kind of fast from or whatever is more of like a personal thing, but it's a fasting from food. So you are literally denying the flesh physically and stuff. So he was like, try it out. So I was like, well, technically I had went to the 11 o'clock service. So it was already like almost noon, closer to 1. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. I ain't ate for a whole hour. I didn't plan to eat until like 6 o'clock anyway, because I had been like trying to keep that within my mind frame of the fast. And so then I was like, all right, when I get home, I'm not going to do what I normally do, which is go in the room and like, watch YouTube or something. I'm going to just leave the TV off. I'm going to listen to music. And I put on some Johnny Mac because that's my dog and that's my, and I just kind of sat there and listened to music and like really just had a praise and worship, prayed a bit, and like let myself really feel this thing. And I was like, it started hitting, and it was like 10 o'clock. Like initially I was like, okay, am I just gonna go to midnight because like I don't know when I ate last, but should I just go to midnight or should I try and like figure out the actual time that I like had eaten something the other day or whatever and go to that? And I was like, all right, let's see what I can do. And got about 10 o'clock, made it till midnight, and was like, yep, I got to eat something. Because I am over, just like I am like at the bottom. I was like, I was not properly prepared. I wouldn't even, clearly I wouldn't like let myself do tea, like nothing. It's just water, which is supposed to do anyway. And the results of that, or the reward of that, is like, so I wake up always like with a song in my head.
Do you?
Um, yeah, and it can kind of like, at this point, and it's been like since I've been up here, and I think it's more like it can tell you like where I am in terms of like my temperature or whatever. But anyway, long story less long, because I know I'm boring y'all with all these stories. Is the song that was on my head because I was listening to People. That's the album I was listening to. And so I just woke up and I was like, make a cathedral out of me.
Mm-hmm. He will do it, won't he?
He will. I have a joke about that too, which I'm sure is the same joke that seemingly is in your
I don't think
mind.
so. I don't think so because I do have a joke I need to tell you, but it's for off the air. Like it's not
Yeah.
inappropriate or anything, but you know how you like to come at me with dad jokes. I have a plethora of them and bring it on you unaware. So I need to make a mental note. The next time I talk to you, I'm just gonna slide it in there and you won't even know it's coming.
No, so you remember at the end of the song, he talks about an attribute of himself, of
I
like how
really
he
do not.
wants to the lump of clay.
Oh yeah.
You remember what I'm saying? We had like a lot of jokes
Yeah.
about that, and look at you now. Look at you now.
Mold it up.
Yeah. So, but how was your week? I would love to know.
My week has been very good. I don't know if I said this last week or not, but I know mentally I was saying I need to start back working out. It's good for me. Like it hurts my body, but it's a good hurt. It's a good feeling for me. So I dove into my working out career. And after we get off of this podcast, I'm going to go soak in a tub, Epsom salt, because my entire body is hurting. On today, I'm grateful that I work from home, that I didn't have to be out among people. Of course, I'm going to have to continue to push through this pain, but you know, it's a different kind of pain when you're starting back to working out versus when you're doing it regularly. So I'm trying to get my mind and my body together and push through the pain. But it feels good for me. I'm not the person that jumps up and then it's like, let's go to the gym. Like I have to make myself do it. But after I do it, I'm grateful that I did. So that's how my week has been. My body is hurting, but hey, it'll only make me stronger. And it's not because like New Year's resolution or anything. It's just people offer great deals at the beginning of the year to get you to go to the gym. You know what I'm saying?
Hold
So
on. Shut
like
up.
if you're gonna join, now is the time to join. Me and mama usually like we will go walk and stuff, but it's way too cold for that. I don't want to be outside, and it's kind of hard sometimes for me to work out in the house. That gets boring, so I'm just doing classes with other people. It's fun, but it's challenging. So that's how my week has been. Pretty good.
You are my sister through and through. You are yourself.
100%.
Um, but all right, tell the good people. Well, what we're getting into today is we're like,
So, New Year,
yeah,
I just talked about my workout routine, Bible Study Brothers, starting off the year with a fast and really being intentional and focused on God. This is a whole new season of the Bible Study Girl podcast. And I think I realized that people have joined along the way and they have listened along the way. And we both recorded episodes way in the beginning of the podcast 4 years ago of where we were in our faith journey. We kind of did a general overview of our faith journey, but of course, you can't tell it all. And so there are so many things that are missing. So we thought that the season 4 opener would be a good time to kind of recap our faith journeys and also to catch you up on what all has transpired in our lives and in our faith journeys in the last 4 years. So this episode is probably going to be longer than they typically are, but it really is just an opportunity for us to talk about our faith journeys in totality and not just always in pieces because you get bits and pieces. And it's also a great opportunity for us to introduce ourselves to you. If you don't know any of our story, we don't want to be just assuming that everybody knows everything, because that's not the case. People have jumped in and joined in at different points of our journey. So we just felt like it would be a great way to start off this season, and also just a great example for you guys to see what we're looking for when we want to talk to people about their faith journeys. Again, it's not a tell-all. It is the bits and pieces of your faith walk and your testimony that you're willing to share. So I went back and I listened to my 2 faith journey episodes, and I feel like it was like pulling teeth to get me to talk. I feel like it was pulling teeth. I can see so much growth in who I am as a person and in my willingness to be transparent. Because, baby, at that point, I felt like I was walking around naked. Like, Adam and Eve, when God is like, who told y'all was naked? I feel like I was out there naked. But going back and listening to it, I'm like, girl, you ain't even say nothing. But this is a chance for us to really just recoup, and introduce ourselves to you guys again. So, Bible Study Brother, I'm going to let you go first. You can kind of catch us up on your faith journey. Also, these podcasts of our faith journeys are available for listening, but you have to go to www.biblestudygirl.com. Bible Study Brothers testimony, if you want to call it that, is labeled Bible Study Brothers Journey. If you type that in, there's a part 1 and a part 2 in the search engine. If you type that in the search engine of the website, his story will come up. But for me, you have to type in Bible Study Girl ? And then my part 1 and my part 2 will show up. If you want to listen to what it was like 4 years ago when we first started versus now, it is a great example of the growth experience through the years. So, Bible Study Brother, take it away. Let us know what you want us to know about your faith journey. Of course, I'm going to interrupt you and ask questions because there's always some hidden nugget or jewel.
So quick catch up for those of you who didn't listen. I accepted Christ way before the age of 10 or 11, whenever it was, because I was like in 6th grade or whatever when I officially did it at the church. But before then, I mean, as long as I can remember, I've always believed in God. So, had no issues there. And then I became a reverend in 2020. Mm-hmm. Oh, God. Wait, what? 2020? That's crazy. It's been way longer than I thought. And that's where we ended the journey between, in those first 2 episodes were those 2 points. And now we're at 2021. Yeah, we talk about this a lot just because that's like one of the biggest things that has happened to us in the time that we've been doing this podcast. That year, well, let me go back. So after the podcast that we did, where I was, I had accepted my call, I had done this sermon for our Men's Day. I then later that it wasn't in 2021. It was a couple months after that. I feel like it was on our like anniversary or something like that, which was funny. But anyway, I did my sermon for licensing, and on that, well, not on that day, but like I think a month before, around that time, my stepfather on my wife's side of the family was shot and killed. So I dealt with that, and tried to kind of like pick up the pieces and get stuff together. And this is like every sermon I did somebody seemed to pass away, whether it was somebody from the church or somebody that like I was close to. Then we
Let
fast
me ask
forward.
you this
Yeah, go
question.
ahead.
How long did it take you to notice that pattern?
Oh, real quick, because it was like it was after maybe like the third person where I was like, okay, what's going on? And then like I if I can go back and like remember, like, because I see that now that I've like wiped some of that from my memory, but every month somebody passed when I was about to preach, like that week or the week like prior or something like that. But most
Did that
times like
make
during the month.
you, did that ever make you hesitate? Like once you made the connection, were you like, am I supposed to be doing this?
Mm, no, because well, the serendipity of it is every sermon that God wanted me to preach would pertain somewhat to that person in a way, in terms
Okay.
of like whatever it was I got from them or a connection we might have shared or something like that. So, and at that point, like I said, I was all in. If I had said this is what I was gonna do, this is what I'm gonna do. You know, I didn't have no issues with making the full commitment at that point. So yeah, so we go through that year, and I'm like, "Whoo, God, that was a rough year." You started me with Kobe, and then I done went through all this stuff, and like, it's crazy because that was the first one. uh, and then 2021 starts. Like I had most amazing birthday I'd ever had. I'd had uh, an amazing summer that year.
I think we both said before on the podcast, like, despite all the issues that came up in 2020, 2020 was a good year
Yeah,
collectively, I think, for our family.
yeah,
We just had so many great moments like that just
mhm,
stand out. So I'm gonna let you continue to tell your testimony,
yeah,
your faith journey, your faith walk. But yeah, your birthday was awesome that year. We had
yeah.
so much
Who killed
fun.
me? Grandma can't tell you that because that's that's the part of
We
the
had so
game.
much fun. We did.
Oh, like we even had an amazing time. I think we celebrated Kanae graduating.
Yeah, that was that year. Wow. That was a big year.
Yeah,
It was a big year. You accepted your call. Yes, lost people, but again, it still wasn't like what was to come.
yeah.
It was it was a good year.
So with
We have
all that stuff
to
happening,
say.
I was at an all time high in terms of my walk with God, or so I thought. And then again, so the pattern is continuing on January 1st, because January
Right.
1st I get told that the eldest member of our family on my mom's side had passed, and so I'm like,
Because you had preached watch night.
yeah. And so I had to preach watch night, and that's what I'm saying. Like, so I'm like,
You
all right,
preached
cool.
watch night, and then we lost a family member.
And then I was like, all right, cool. I'm good. Because we're in the middle of like COVID protocols. Because I was at the house, we were like
Right.
on Zoom and stuff. And so I was at a new job and everything else, and like I had gotten to like a better position because I was working at a pawn shop, and it was just a lot on me at the time. And so at this time, I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna need to take the weekend off because we're going to Kansas City for the funeral. Now at this point in time, because again, stuff just be quiet, and if somebody don't tell me certain things, I don't know. So I hadn't even known that Tamika was in the hospital. Because
You didn't?
no, we talked a little bit about it like later, and I was like, wait, what? Because it was right after Christmas.
Right.
So like I'm thinking, we was all body yada 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 yada. Like everything was great. Like I said, the funnest Christmas we'd ever had, in the middle of like laughing at folks because we wasn't really supposed to be together. But this is early COVID, so we're not like.
It's not really early COVID. COVID popped
But I
off in
mean,
March 2020, and we gathered all that year. We weren't supposed to gather.
yes. But I mean,
Now, I will say when COVID first started in March of 2020, we did not do Easter together. We did not
no.
gather. We did not. And when I say we gathered, like we didn't gather with the old people in the family because we didn't want to be responsible, for
Yeah.
somebody going to glory, but the young people got
Yeah.
together.
But I'm saying, but my birthday was that year. We was all there. Like I'm saying, it was kind of like
We
it.
we did gather for your birthday that year, but we weren't like it wasn't everybody.
No, but it was more like at this point, it was like we've been inside all year, bro.
Right.
It's kind of like toward the end, we thinking like, we can, as long as we do this, it's like we the only people that we be around, we all right.
Right. So we did Thanksgiving 2020 on Zoom, and we did Christmas that way too. But then I went to my cousin's house.
Which caused a little of uproar.
And then, yeah, we had a good time. Okay, so I'm gonna let you tell your story.
So I can get, because I want to get to yours too. So
you preach watch meeting December 31st, 2020, January 1st.
Yeah.
We get the call that the oldest member of our family has gone to glory. Yeah. So that next weekend we are going to Kansas City because his funeral is that immediately that next weekend. So
I'm getting ready for that.
Don't know that Tamika's in the hospital at this point.
I mean, not. I think no. I didn't really know. I didn't know it was like what it was, and so then on.
Can I say this? Yeah. I think part of the reason I didn't say it, do you know what I'm saying? Like it's because I'm not. I don't think any of us really. It never occurred to me that she wasn't going to come out of the hospital.
Yeah.
And so, like, why borrow trouble once we know for sure
I almost forgot
what's going on?
You just made me.
Then I'll be like, this is what it is.
So I preached watch night service, but I am also scheduled to preach the Sunday. The following Sunday. So
So we know we're gonna go to this funeral that Saturday, but we're gonna come back immediately following the funeral because you have to preach Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I get a call on the 7th, which was a Wednesday.
The Thursday.
Thursday? Oh yeah, because we left out Friday and came back Saturday. To come to the hospital. And it's not looking good, or I don't know what mama said, something like that, I think.
And this is in the middle of COVID when you're not supposed to be at the hospital.
Now, mind you, at this point, this is God, and the respect my mama has, when we talk about like an extended family of people, my mama got that. Because we were able to get a room at the hospital that she works at. Like a family room, one of the family rooms where they normally have you in these situations where you're like dealing with intense situations, ICU type stuff. We told the story, so I ain't gonna go through all of it. So basically I go there with an expectation, like I don't know what's going on, but I'm expecting a miracle. Miracle does not happen. So I'm shattered. And now I have to I was not coming to work initially, but I'm definitely, I feel like I took like a week. I don't know how long I took off. I took off a decent amount of time because I just couldn't like put it together. But then so we go to the funeral. The only peace I got that week was seeing Uncle Blue's face because there was peace on his face.
And you told me that, and I felt no peace.
Oh no, you couldn't, but you you a different person. Like you in a different place. Like you like,
I was insane. Like I was not sane.
But I was compartmentalizing. Like I wasn't thinking about it the way you were. I was just thinking about like this is if this had not happened, if she was still here, that weekend would have just been. I would have seen the peace on his face, and I would have been okay.
Right.
The peace on his face then just gave me the note that like, okay, it's okay. I'm gonna do what the Lord asked me to do. And so
So
my
let me ask
yeah.
you, I'm gonna keep asking you this question. So even then, at that point, there was nothing in you that was like, I'm not preaching on Sunday. It
Mm-mm.
was always, I'm preaching.
I'm gonna do what God asked me to do.
Okay.
And especially at that point, it was like, okay, I'm gonna get through it. But like, what would she say? What would she have said? Like, I just, and at the time,
I,
what would Aunt Linda would have said is,
you
you got to do
know,
it. So,
I'm gonna say this because there are a lot of places where our faith journeys intersect and we don't choose the same path. We go down different paths.
mm-hmm,
At that point in time, I was teaching Sunday school
mm-hmm,
every Sunday via Zoom on COVID, and Tamika was my co-teacher, right?
mm-hmm,
We've had all this stuff going on in our family. Joe is preaching on Sunday, and Ari was like, we all showed up for Sunday school this morning. This is after Tamika has died, after we didn't go to Kansas City for this funeral and made it back. She was like, we all showed up for Sunday school this morning. She was like, but I told him, y'all, I don't think she coming. Like, and not, I don't know why y'all got on Sunday school.
I, and it was at that point that I was like,
I mean, a lot of it
yeah,
was I was not in my right mind, but also like I prepped for Sunday school. I hadn't had time I couldn't even, I was not, I couldn't tell you what the verses was. Like Tamika and I had a system, like
mm,
with the Zoom, we would do a PowerPoint as well.
yeah,
Initially, when I started teaching the class, I would do the PowerPoint as well. And she would just work the PowerPoint while I was teaching. And we transitioned into her doing the PowerPoint and putting the PowerPoint together and then working it while I was teaching. And so it just was a lot for me. So
yeah.
I was in a different space, but I think it's so interesting how we can have the same experience and
Mm-hmm.
then have a different reaction in our journeys.
But
Continue, brother.
but like a lot of that is, I think, like I told you on the superhero episode, you've done so much in so many different places. Like sometimes you do need to slow down. You are our mother's child. Like you will work and get out there and work. But the difference is like, when it's too much for you, you'll sit down. Um, I being the man in our trio didn't feel like I could do that a lot of the time. Because there were responsibilities and things that in my mind that I just had to do I just had to do. Like, cause I didn't want y'all looking at me like I wasn't a man or whatever at that time or whatever. So like, I remember, going back to work. I had to go back to work almost immediately when my patron died, and I didn't take no time. I needed to take time, but I didn't take no time because I didn't want mama thinking I wasn't gonna get out here and work. I done already came home from, college and all this other stuff. Not show up for work. What? And not be able to do this, like, cause you not finna do it, cause that's what you told me. So I gotta push through, gotta go and do it. But this was more like I didn't ask for the purpose he gave me. He gave me the purpose.
Mm.
And with that responsibility, with the people that came to my licensing, with the people that came to like that said, yeah, from you to Tamika on, why would I not? How could I not? Because what am I saying about what you believed in me? What am I saying about your legacy? When there's this one thing that you are finally supporting me on. Like, not like in a bad way of thinking like it's about me, but like this way of like, Nah, the people that I respect the most felt the spirit the same way that I did about what it is that I'm doing.
I will
So I
say, I
think,
think it is your best sermon to date. I think it is your
oh yeah,
best sermon to
probably.
date. 100% hands down. Like, I was like, OMG, he didn't just preach.
But you see
He,
what I said, because I had that sermon before I like,
right,
it's that's what I mean by like he be like, all right,
fitting the
and this is how
pieces.
you live it out.
Right. And you have to live it out, which
Yeah,
is the
yeah.
hard part.
Um,
And I'm
yeah.
grateful that you were able to be an example to me. I fell to pieces.
Oh yeah.
I fell to pieces.
But
I,
but that had been my role in where God had me since our fallout. Like I had to start making choices that were not represented by how other people made choices. Well, I guess because for me, if y'all did it, then it's a right choice. Kind of thing was before I started to make 100% all of my own choices. So it's like normally I would have been like, yeah, because y'all had the clout, or not clout, but the standing at your jobs and so on and so forth. Well, at least it looked like that way. We talked about this because I said I didn't understand. But either way, you never held back on telling the job, yo, I'm going here. I'm gonna be gone for these couple of days.
that is true. I will
I did.
say that in that aspect, I do have good work-life balance. There was no way I could go to work after Tamika died. Like I did not, I was not, and I don't even know how I can express it or articulate it, but I truly was not in the state of mind to be talking to people's children.
Yeah, no.
Like, and even honestly, after I went back to work, I would literally be treating kids and crying, like not sobbing, but like tears would be coming down my face. I couldn't control it. Like, I could not control it. It would be and they would be like,
Oh, I
"You okay,
was
Miss Rita?"
sick.
Like,
I
I'm
was big sick.
fine. Like, I'm doing the bit. Like, let's keep playing. Like, whoo, child. But go ahead.
And I wasn't emotionless, but I also think that I haven't really. I think that grief wise, like I do feel sad and I was crying and everything else, but I know that I deal with like being told not to cry real tough. I dealt with that real wrong, but I was young, so I didn't know how much I was taking it. So like if I cry, I cry and then I move on. It never feels like me crying. It's one of those like, well, you a dude, don't nobody care that you crying. Like what that mean? You know, even though I know that that's not true, because like I feel like of the people that hate me crying the most is probably you, Kanae, and Mama. Like, I feel like it infuriates y'all, especially if it's not something that like if you're not already crying.
Here's the thing. When's the last time I saw you cry? Oh, I don't hate when you cry, but it does throw me off. Because
See,
but y'all, listen, I want you to be in touch with
and
your
you
feelings.
made us cry though. You made us cry. That was you.
How did I didn't make you
You did
cry.
the intro and you was crying. So then I'm up here and I'm
No, that's
crying.
not the last time I saw you cry. The last time I saw you cry was last year when you were home for the holidays. And like I was trying to take a picture with you.
Oh.
And it was like a video and you started. Yeah. I was like, wait, what? Are you crying?
I was like, oh my God. Because I got to spend, that was the most time I had got to spend with y'all back home since I've
Yeah,
been
I was
gone.
like,
So, yeah.
we're not sad. Like, why are you sad right now? Like, this is a happy, like, I was making a happy video.
You
Like, I don't,
were. It's just, I was so happy. It's just like it was
it was tears of
January,
joy.
fam. It was
Yeah.
January, fam. Like it was December, January. Like I'm in full emotional like season, just like you. And at that
Right.
point, it was like it was one of those moments where happiness was making me afraid.
I
Just gonna
understand.
keep it a
Honestly,
buck.
I understand that.
Yeah,
And you talk about how you try not to tap into your emotions. I do too, in that way. Like, I don't want them to rule and reign. I don't
Yeah.
want anxiety to get the best of me. When we have great times as a family, I want to be able to just enjoy the great times
Yeah.
and not anticipate, oh,
Mm.
boom, boom, boom. Is this it? Is this the end? So
Yeah.
I get it,
So
bro.
I was just so that's where I was. So then, we go through the year, like when I go through the year, I'm going too fast. But also we go through
Are you going too fast? We got to
what?
cover 4 years and we still stuck in 2021.
Oh no, well, okay, well I fast track. So yes, we lost my great aunt and my great uncle, who at that point was really a father figure to me in a lot of different ways, and like in terms of like understanding. Like I remember us having a conversation about the farm, and we were having a conversation about like I was asking questions about like, well, why can't are the like trying to really find a place like, okay, we got to step up, we got to start taking up some of these mantles and things like, and I don't necessarily think I can do what Tamika did, but I would like to try and do this. Like, what's the understanding of how we can like build up the family business? Like I'm getting like amped. And so it just it did a lot. It was hard. And again, so now you got me, because I don't think I didn't have to preach uh when Aunt Linda passed, but I did speak. I did have to do a prayer. And that was another one of those moments. And then I got up and I told a story or whatever, and just being strong. And it was one of those hard moments of like trying to like, because I knew this was funny, but I also felt the spirit in it. Felt the spirit of like, when I was young and super small and you're trapped by these waters, I couldn't help you up. But I know I can help you up now and help you uplift you. And it was a lot, man. Like, and I'm sitting there, just everything around me is just unraveling as fast as it can, and we're adhering way more than we ever have to COVID stuff, in the ways that we can. And like sitting at this funeral, and I'm like trying to get myself together, and we get home, and we get the call about Uncle Chauncey because we hadn't heard from him or whatever. And I'm just tired at this point. I know that God is doing something, like by this point, like I said, Jonathan McReynolds' God is Good is all I'm listening to. And that was my mindset for all 2021. May the good and the bad of my life just say that God is good. And I know
Right.
that he is working something for his good. So that's where I was that year. And then we move, and I go into depth about that on moving up here to Tacoma, where I am now. About how God moved, and like it was at that point that I was like, that was like vindication for just trusting, because I'm like, he's still moving, and this is the worst year of my life, is how, like, emotionally, but it's still the best in terms of being able to make this transition. So 2022, I get out here, I'm starting to work on the album, streaming. I'm like trying to get life together in a sense. I'm picking up the pieces. It's now been a year, 1 year, since everybody's been gone. And I'm just in a place of full on trust. Like, Kane has allowed me to really pursue my dreams, not immediately like jumping into pursuing some 9 to 5. So I'm like really just locked in on my purpose, locked in on doing all of these different things or whatever. And I think that January we lost her Aunt Renee. And that was another one of those, like the first time we couldn't come home.
Of 2022.
Two. Pretty sure.
Okay.
Her Aunt Renee, not her Aunt Phyllis was
Oh, okay. I'm
last
like,
year.
wait a
Like I'm
minute.
like
Okay,
no,
yes.
and Aunt Latanja's best friend. Why Shakia's middle name Renee,
Mm-hmm.
her.
Okay.
Because I'm like, wait, I'll get you caught up. So yeah, that was another thing that happened. That's 2023. Uh, yeah. So we couldn't come home from that. So that was the first time we couldn't really come home. We didn't come home until the end of the year for Christmas. So we got to like spend a couple weeks with y'all because we were trying to get these flights that were cheap, and the only way to get them cheap was to do this and fly to Memphis and do all this other stuff. So I got to like really spend time with people. So it's my like first time getting to spend time with people. It's like seeing, I want to say, the growth in a lot of different ways on Ariana and Devin's face, even and also see the coping um at the same time, because it's like you can see like that somber feeling on their faces or whatever when I get back, and I'm like, I'm proud because I've seen a lot of growth in them, um and I was just happy to be around family and everything. um I think we record no, we don't record grandma's episodes. Then we recorded grandma's episodes
Before you
20
ever left.
before I was up. So we get ready for our 100th episode and we record that. And, I'm like, all right, God, I am trusting you. We're looking for a church, hadn't really found one. Well, no, we had just found one. So we'd only been there for 2 months, 3 months. I was like, I'm really liking this place. This seems kind of all right. Um, and then 2023 last year, um, was just a year of building. Like God had been building all these different connections. I met a lot of different producers, a lot of different rappers that I like started to connect with and like build a community with, and we're like on the road to like doing this big thing for 2024 called the 52 Project, where I want to something that I like started and kind of created, which is uh we're putting together some music, and then we're gonna release a song every week for 52 weeks straight. Whenever we start, like, didn't start in January because we wanted to make sure, like, once we start, we have the infrastructure to keep going, and it's not something that like we're like, oh, how are we going? We want to be able to consistently do this. So it's a big thing that he's got me, that the Lord has allowed me to do, alongside the fact that I'm working on. I got like 2 or 3 projects that are coming out this year. I'm doing one with TJ. I'm doing one with one of the producers that I met up here about a little over a year ago at this point, or a little bit over a year. That I formed a good friendship with, and that was like last year was just doing these shows. I released the album May 12th, 2023. And that felt like just a release. The first person you hear on my album outside of my voice is my mother. And then the first thing you hear me say is I lost 4 members of my family all at once. I ain't been the same in months. And like going through everything that I had gone through to get to that point on that album, just felt like another milestone of like, I did it, Tamika. I did it. So
So let me ask
yeah.
you, at this point in your faith journey, do you think there's one word that kind of sums it up? From the last time we talked about your faith journey to now, is there one word that you feel like really encapsulates all that you have been through?
Uh, Not necessarily one word, but it's keep taking steps on the water and don't look left or right.
Okay,
You know,
I can dig it.
yeah. So, because that's what everything is faith. Like I didn't know what living up here was gonna be like. I didn't know, you know. Kane had surgery in 2023. Uh, it was a lot, bro. Like it was just, there were so many things that like the start of the year was rough in terms of certain things, but it's like, you know, there's like a new day. We're still working out, like moving and getting pregnant, all these other things that we got going on. But God was so good, you know. And I know that 2024 is just going to be another bright and shining year. I get to see you guys this year.
You do.
And break bread with you guys, as we so often do. In a new place, I get to see more like this world that God's created, which I've always enjoyed doing with my two favorite people. And then my most favorite person. But anyway, you know, so I just think that like God has just done a lot. And 2021 had made me more laser focused on God gonna do it. Get out the way and listen to what he says. Anytime I like, because the biggest thing that's really difficult right now, right, is just God being like, use your purpose to make way for you. And I'm like, this is different. And God, I know how what people think, and they always having these 50-50 conversations and what the man's supposed to do in the house and all this other stuff. Like, God, why are you telling me to do this? Like, why, you know? But anytime I think about doing something different, he's like, no, that's not what I told you. So listening, and this year being the year of encouragement to action, which is the words he gave me, to where it's like, I'm not wasting any encouragement on anybody without making sure they know, like, no, God is asking you to do this. Like, and I don't waste words. I'm not just pumping you up to pump you up. This ain't that. Yeah. So
Okay.
that's where I'm at.
That was a good recap and catch up. And didn't he catch us up, folks? I mean, man.
Yeah, man.
He broke it down. I
Oh,
would.
no, wait, I lied. I do have a word, blur. Because I can remember 2021, 2022, 2023, stuff just happened. There's stuff that I
Okay.
remember, but things just happened.
It's a blur. It was all a blur. So when we talked about my faith journey in parts 1 and 2 of my discussion of my life, we really didn't get very far. We talked about my early childhood. We talked about me accepting Christ. We talked about my teenage years. We talked about my secret marriage and secret divorce. And then we talked about our parents' divorce, but we still didn't really just flesh that out completely. We just we hit all those topics and then we ran out of time. So we pretty much stopped talking. I think part of our rationale was that you get to hear my story and my faith walk. That's what biblestudygirl.com is. It's blogs of my life, and you get to follow my faith walk every day along with me at that point in time, right? That's
and
what it
you
was.
was just tight-lipped as all get out over here at, well, not tight-lipped, but you was very cautious.
I was very guarded.
Yeah.
And I think that's very true of my personality. If I don't know, because although I know I'm talking to my brother, I also know people are going to be listening to this. And so 4 years ago, I was super like, I'm not getting too out of pocket or too out of line. Now, listen, 4 years later, I'm still not, we ain't going to get like too deep, but I do feel like there's room and space for me to be more open and more transparent. So we left off pretty much with, I moved to Augusta when I graduated from grad school for my job. So I was working for a travel therapy agency at that time. I moved from Augusta to Houston. And then when I got to Houston, I really liked my job and I really liked Houston. It was a chocolate city. And I had a blast. I had a blast. I had a ball.
You were,
and
at that point, I thought for like, you were so much like Tamika, because Tamika had that traveling job, and then I was like, "Now you got this traveling job, and you could go to if you wanted to be here, they could probably find you a job there, and you could live there." And I'm like,
Right.
"This is
And I
amazing."
loved it. It gave me, which is kind of weird because if you really know me, a lot of people when they're growing up, especially in the state of Arkansas, their dream is always to leave. It was never my dream to leave, never my intention. But then opportunity presented itself. I was mad at my ex-husband. I didn't even want to be in the same state with him. And that's what pushed me to like take the job and to go do it and to experience it. And it opened up so many doors and opportunities for me. And it was a great experience to be able to live in different parts of the country in nice apartments. They put me up better than I ever put myself up out of my own pocket. And I would
Facts.
take a job. I was working in a school, so I would get to stay in the city for 9 months and then have to move. But like I said, I got to Houston. I loved Houston. I was making good money. The food was delicious. It was a good experience. And then I started to get a little homesick and like, is this really where I want to be? I was thinking about buying a house. I wanted to settle down, but I just didn't see myself settling down in Houston. So I ended up moving back home. But I'm grateful that I did. One of the reasons I moved back home, though, is because my first year in Houston, my great grandma passed away. I think that probably is another reason I stayed in Houston so long because I was not ready to deal with the loss of her. And if I was far away, the loss wouldn't seem as real, right? Like, because I'm not coming around as often. I don't see y'all as often. So it won't be as painful. It won't be as hurtful. But I think over time, I started to realize, hey, I'm missing out on more time with my family, like my grandma and all that stuff. I need to be back home. So I moved back home. And that is when Bible Study Girl, the group came to be. When I moved back,
I like the way you said that.
right. When I moved back to Arkansas, I lived in Bryant. Actually, my best friend lived in the apartment complex like next to mine. So we didn't stay in the same apartment complex, but like it was easy to get from my apartment complex to hers. Now you would think we would have spent just a whole bunch of time together, but I hit the ground running, honey. I was doing all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we talked all the time, but we didn't spend as much time together. She was like, I knew you was gonna be out in the streets. Anyway. But that's when I feel like my steps were ordered by God, definitely, because that's when Bible Study Girl, the group came to be. We weren't a singing group, but we did get together for Bible studies in my little apartment in Bryant. I really just wanted to do the one study, but we ended up doing Bible studies together for 2 or 3 years, like straight solid. We might take a week or two off, but then they would be like, what's the next Bible study? And so
Facts.
I don't know. I don't know what I don't know what my life would be or what I would be doing now if I hadn't had that time with that group of ladies. We still talk to this day. We don't do Bible studies together like we did, but that was a really transformative part of my life. And this is the Bible Study Girl podcast, and I didn't really talk about the Bible study girls in my faith journey, and they're a major part of my faith journey. I think when I was in college, I wanted to do a Bible study. I went to there was a Christian bookstore. Oh Lord, I can't think of the name of the street right now. I lived in Conway for years, but I can't think of the name of the street. But I went there and they had different little Bible studies. And I remember I looked and I had picked out a Bible study about the fruit of the spirit. They were real thin. And I was like, well, maybe I could get some women together or whatever to talk about this, but I never did. So fast forward 2 years later, when I moved back to Arkansas, and that dream, that inkling, that feeling has become a reality.
Question.
And now, Mhm.
Didn't God tell you something about that then? About doing
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I
okay.
wanted to get some people together. I just never did, though.
Okay.
I felt, if you have not listened to this podcast before, I must tell you, I'm an introvert, like in real life.
She says that a lot. A lot.
I In real life, I'm an introvert that goes outside. I need to be by myself to recharge, though. I do.
Yeah, I hear you.
But also, if you meet me in the streets or if you see me like out in the community or at church, I'm not the one that's going to raise her hand and volunteer to talk and speak in front of everybody. Like, it makes me nervous and stuff. So I'm truly like, I like my introverted lifestyle. Now, once I'm comfortable with people, you can't get me to shut up. I will talk all day, but
Oh, you will see her.
I will.
That's all I'm gonna say. You will see her.
And let me say this. This is completely off topic, but I've been meaning to tell you this. I forgot. Mama said she was talking to Grandpa the other day, and he was like, I really like her. That girl will say anything.
Listen, man. Yo, it's a fact. I think that's the thing Charmaine loves about you is you will just. She was like, she's just so wonderful. Like you either if it's kind of like watching that Cat Williams interview. It's just like you just gonna say what you gonna say, and it's not in that kind of inflammatory way. But when you comfortable, she get in
I'll
her
say
bag.
anything. I
Just
will. I
anything.
almost told on myself I can't tell that story because we
You
on the
cannot.
podcast.
You cannot. I don't even. Oh Lord, no, you cannot. But
So anyway,
continue.
I think meeting with the BSGs was pivotal in my faith journey because after we would go over the lesson for the week or whatever the lesson had been that week, we would write out prayer requests. Everybody had like their own like folder or whatever that they kept the prayer requests in. So we would handwrite everybody's prayer requests. Like we go around, like, what are you asking God for? What do what do you need for us to pray with you about? And it created an atmosphere for us to see God moving in other people's lives, like right then, not, and some prayers took years to be answered.
But it created the legend.
Of
It
Tamika.
created the that's
It,
listen, man.
it created
Yo,
the legend of Tamika. I think it really helped spark her prayer life. And we all would be like, get Tamika to pray about it because God hears her prayers and he comes through for her. Like whatever she puts on that paper, he's like, let me come see about this girl. Because she coming at me real and she has a real need. And so it created it. So we had an atmosphere of prayer and we did life together. We would go on trips. We would go out to eat. It wasn't, and it wasn't about being holy, holy, holy. It was about being totally yourself, being totally open to God moving in your life. And it's something that I really needed then. And I think it's something I continue to need now. But that was a really special, like fruitful time in my life. And we got to just witness how big God is, that He's greater than us. And I'm forever grateful for that. When you talked about 2021, and we talked about 2021 extensively on this podcast, we lost a lot of family members in the first 6 weeks of 2021. And Bible Study Brother already talked about his response, and my response was different at that time.
so basically, what she's telling y'all, just in short form, is from because we ended 2006. She's brought us all the way up to 2021. The Bible Study Girl experience was a very long one, and a lot
it
of things
was,
happened.
it, it was a long one. And I So Bible study girl, I'm writing the blogs, I'm doing all of this, I'm teaching Sunday school. I know who God is and I believe God. And I fail. When we lost all those family members, I fail. I was devastated. I really was. Not that I didn't think that they were with God, but like, now what do you want me to do with this? This is a lot. This is much. This is not anything I could have anticipated. Like, everything I know is different, and I'm having to create a different reality, right? So I was not strong Christian faith girl. I wasn't. I would literally lay on the floor before I had to go to work in the morning to like get my mind right. So I would just lay on the floor. I remember one morning my coworker called me and asked me a question about something. And this how off I was, y'all. I don't remember what she said, but I was like, I'm just laying here on the floor trying to get myself together so I can get on out the door. She was like, did you hurt yourself or something? I'm like, no. I didn't even realize how weird that was. I just was in a different headspace. But one thing I can say about 2021 up until present day 2024 is that even when I wanted to create distance between myself and God, I know I couldn't really do that, but I went silent on him for a long time. I didn't have much to say to him. I was I was disappointed, I think. I think I was disappointed and angry and a lot of things. And I had to work through a lot of emotions. So I don't feel like in a lot of ways I was the quote unquote model Christian. Um, I asked you if there was a
Guys, 1 second. Sorry, just getting a lot of phone calls right now. Sorry. Apologize for all this random noise that I know is going to be on the podcast. So I'm sorry.
you got it together, boss.
I think so.
So, I asked you if there was one word for you that just like would sum up where you were in your faith journey. I think for me, currently where I am in my faith journey is trusting. Trusting, trusting.
Yeah,
That's where I'm at. Trusting. It's interesting too, because I just had a conversation today.
I got a question because you skipped over a year.
Mhm.
So, where was your relationship with God after what you would consider your biggest shame? Because
I discussed that in the
we did.
first podcast. Yeah, we talked about I've talked about that on this podcast before,
Okay.
like my
Okay.
experience with the trying to get back with my ex-husband and how it just went. We had a whole episode about it
Yeah,
when
I
we did
know.
the
I
blog.
just wanted to kind of like the reason I asked is because juxtaposing like that year with 2021, you and Tamika went through a lot. So I just
We did. We
was
went through a
trying to,
tremendous amount in 2018, excuse me, going into 2019. We butted heads, we came to odds. Um, we had severe differences of opinion about the man that I had said I was going to marry again. She was like, girl, this is stupid. One thing about my cousin, she never held her tongue. How my grandpa say I would say just anything, she would say just anything. Whatever she thought she was going to say. She was like, this is stupid. You don't need to do this. He's not quality man. Want, wop, wop. She was right. But we really came to odds over that. Thankfully, we were able to be back together and repair our relationship. So going into like 2021, we were in a great place. And so I think that's another reason why my word is trusting. If I had trusted God in 2018, he had been told me not to be with
I
that
was sure for to
man.
say, I
Like
was like, nah, if you had trusted God in 2005.
that's what I'm saying. Like he had been told me not to be with that man years and years ago, but I was just pulling stuff up and like just doing stuff. If I was in a position of truly trusting, then I would be in a better place. And I think another reason I'm telling you that my word that I would use to encapsulate like what I need to do and what my faith journey really is about is trusting. Because I just had a conversation with somebody today and they were like, you see what's before you. So what is it going to take for you to trust and believe? And I'm like, you know what? You are right. I'm being mean. But also my best friend had also told me, like, she was like, now you wouldn't want nobody doing you like you anyways. So
Yeah, you getting better. You
I
getting so much
I
better
I
at that.
so yeah, I think if we encapsulate it, I have to trust when my world, every time my world has been shattered, God has been there for me. And so I need to be more trusting and do what he tells me to do because he sees the big picture and he knows it all. Doesn't mean it's
He
gonna be
knows.
doesn't mean it's gonna be easy. Um, but I think it's worth it. I believe it's worth it. So yeah, that's it. That's all. I've run my mouth long
No,
enough
no,
this
no, no, no,
episode.
no, 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 not yet. So here's what I want to know, like as my
Mhm.
last little question, and for both of us, but you're gonna answer first because you are the star of this here thing. Where would you like for your faith to be in the next 10 years?
I want to say I would like for my faith to at least be where yours is. When we look at what happened in 2021, I fell apart. There was no part of me that really even wanted to do anything. Like I didn't have the energy. I couldn't. And I think it makes me, and you just live life. You just do whatever you feel, whatever the Lord is telling you to do, you do it and you trust that it's gonna. And I don't have, I have a spirit of let me do everything I can to make it work. So yeah.
I don't know how to come answer that because that's a I don't know what you're trying to do. You're not gonna make me cry today, but anyway,
But I also
that's
like
nuts.
I I spoke about this when I did my New Year's Eve speech. Tamika didn't do everything right in life, but she really trusted and believed that God was who he says he is. And she definitely talked to him and could hear his voice clearly. I want that for myself as well. I am convinced 100%. I feel with everything in me. She knew it was her time because she would tell me, like, girl, and I would be like, girl, the devil is alive.
Hmm.
She was trying to tell me, like, hey, like, you need to get your, like, this is what's finna be. But I don't think it came, in Christian world, you think it's like, oh, coming from a place of negativity. But we talked about with Bible Study Girl, she had a relationship with God and he would talk to her and she could hear him clearly. So I need for my faith to be at a level where I can hear him clearly. And even if he says something that's counter to what culture says, even like it's counter to what culture says, but this is what God told me. And yeah, okay.
um, in 10 years, I would like for my faith to be transcendent in a way that I want to look to my children, to my family, the way my mom looked to me, in the way that it's like, you joke all the time that like I never got to. I mean, I've seen Cousin Bev, but I never really got to meet the raw country Cousin Bev, like just an unfiltered, unpolished diamond, you know. So I kind of hope to be in that phase of my life where I've like matured and hopefully have really I'm starting to see some of the sprouts or the seeds that God has asked me to plant. And that I'm not like that. I'm walking so tightly with God that when the time the kids get here, I'm not holding resentments of what wasn't in my childhood, what wasn't in our relationship. I'm just holding on to what God has and the promises and the blessings being abundant and more.
Amen.
Because I just want to be in a place where I'm able to give people the peace of the Lord that is on me. And it's something that I know now that it's always been, in the sense that it's like I don't let too much rock me. Like things that rock me like are people I trust. Like that throws my emotions more than the ups and downs of life in and of itself. And that's because I've always had a sense of God's peace. So I just want to be transcendent in my relationship with the Lord at that point. So
Amen and amen, brother.
we appreciate y'all for joining us for this. Basically, it's a double
Extended,
album.
yeah, extended double. Welcome to season 4.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear from you, talkie.
So if you would like to be on the podcast, you can hit us up. Let me do this because y'all probably got some moments where I can like hear myself being recorded, but it's probably not as clear because I wasn't talking directly in the mic. But yeah, you can hit us up on Facebook, or you can hit us up at biblestudygirl2019@gmail.com. We will send out a guest questionnaire to you. We do have some guests coming up that I'm really, really excited about, because I love hearing how God has manifested in the lives of the people around us, and just in learning more about how God moves in our hearts and how the Holy Spirit moves. So I know it's going to be a blessing to you guys. And remember, it's not just you or I that preach, but we preach.
And until we meet again, guys, keep preaching.